What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is another story time. As many of you are familiar, I do different story times on my channel. I know that I haven't done a story time on my channel in quite some time. It's probably been over a month since the last time I have done one, but here I am again to do one and bring one to you today. So this story time is called Spending 3 Hours in the Emergency Room. I know some of y'all looking at that title and like, okay, Taurean, what happened to you? Well, here's the story behind that. So this one happened back in May of 2010. This actually happened like the week that I was getting ready to go home for the break when I was in college. It was the end of my, like the complete and total end to my junior year of college. So basically what happened was me and a few people, students and staff, went to this sportsplex arena, like an indoor sportsplex type of building where they played a lot of indoor sports and the different indoor games and things of that nature. We ended up taking an end of the year trip for that to this particular place. And they had a whole bunch of different indoor activities that you could think of, you know, really interactive. Definitely people who are very active in this, into sports would definitely be very into doing something like that. So we went there, and one of the games that we played was flag football. So it was like a indoor football field size area, not like a regular size football field because that would have been way too big, but just something more condensed for the inside of that building. And, you know, we had our teams and everything like that. So to fast forward a little bit, you know, to get to the, you know, the meat part of a little bit of the meat part of the episode. I mean, not episode, the story. You know, we were playing. Someone for the other team threw the pick. I ended up catching it or trying to catch it. And I'm running. And the thing is, I don't have full control of the ball. And then all of a sudden, once I do have full control of the ball, I slam into this wall. I have caught it. But then once I do it, I know and I felt something was off. So I have the ball, and instead of me running now I'm limping. I imagine I'm going from running to limping. So I knew something was wrong with my feet, but I had no clue what it was, but I knew that it was painful. So once I caught the pick and everything, no one really picked up on that anything was wrong with me at first. Then I went over and sat down on the bench, and I said, hold up a time out, I got to sit down because something isn't right here. I can't run. So I sit down on the bench. I took off my shoe. I took off my sock. And then that's when I saw that my toe, like my big toe, was literally went from looking like this to looking like this. Like you see how my thumb looks, how it looks like this, like this. Like my toe was literally kind of crooked. Like it went from being standing up straight to it being literally like crooked like this. And it was not even just regular crooked. It was kind of crooked and like almost crunch crooked, almost like a crushed soda can. It was that bad because I slammed like literally smack into that wall, and it pushed my toe, and it like literally pushed the toe back a little bit. When I tell you that was one of the most excruciating, painful moments in my life, I'm telling you right now, I would not wish that on anybody. That was probably one of the worst painful experiences I have ever felt in my life. It was so bad. And I don't even think bad is enough to describe the level of pain that it was. Like if they had a pain scale, it was off the charts for me. It was that intense. So I'm sitting and saying to myself, oh my God, the people around me like, oh my God, you know, like looking at it like, oh my, like what happened? And I said, I ran smack into that wall when I was catching the pick. And I basically was saying like, look, I think I need to go to the emergency room. Like I'm looking at my toe and I'm feeling the pain. I said, I need to go to the emergency room. So I ended up, you know, they called 911. And at first they were saying, well, I don't know if we'll be able to admit you because of the time and everything like that. We may not be able to catch you. And I said, no, y'all need to get me in here today. I'm not going to make it, you know, if I don't come in here today. Like this, like if you can see how this looks right now, y'all need to take me in today, like right now. So what ended up happening is I was there with one of the adults, who was there with us. they ended up, leaving a little bit early because they had other people that was there that could watch all the rest of us. And they ended up taking me to their car, and we ended up driving to the local hospital, which was ironically the one that I called because they told me, say, okay, come to this hospital right here, because they asked me where I was at. And we went to that hospital. Went to that hospital. I'm literally limping into there. Like, I couldn't even put my shoe on. Like, once I took my shoe off, I could not put it back on. So I literally have one shoe on and one shoe off, literally limping into that hospital. So, when we got there, it's not like we could park in a parking lot. Like, they literally had to drop me off right there in front. That way I'm not walking far away and walking on that gravel like pavement. Because remind you, I don't have any shoes on. I have no socks on. So I have one shoe on and one shoe and sock off. So I'm literally limping into this emergency room. Then, I have to go in there, fill out some paperwork and everything. And they said, have a seat. The worst thing that could have happened when it came to this is the fact that it happened on a Saturday. Okay, it happened on a Saturday. That was the worst because it's the weekend, and that's probably when they were their most full. Like, for some reason, it was a lot of people there that just happened to be there that day. So I'm getting in there, and I'm sitting there not to fill out the paperwork and all types of stuff like that, give it back to the doctor. Now, here's the thing. Now, the person I was with was not going to leave me there alone, but one thing that they did say is that because they were staff, they had to get back to where they were at because they couldn't stay with me for too long, and they were asking me, is there anyone that you can call that could come and stay with you? Luckily for me, there were some people who me and my family were really good, had good connections with, that I was able to call, and they came and sat with me in that hospital for the duration of the time that I needed to be there, which was like I said, like 3 hours. So imagine having to sit in this hospital for 2 hours. First off, 2 hours with your toe looking the way that it does, and you just being in something like pain. It got to the point where I had sat there for a while that almost became numb to the pain that was there. Like, it really got to that point because my body had almost gotten used to it. But then finally 2 hours had passed. The doctor comes out and says, okay, we're ready to take you now. So now I'm limping, getting help, and I'm limping back to the room. And then they're looking at my toe, and they're like, I'm glad that you did come in today. And I was like, yeah, because at first they were telling me don't come in and just wait throughout the weekend and come in on that Monday. I was like, no, it's no way I was going to be like this for the whole weekend. Then what they did was they ended up giving me an x-ray. So they took an x-ray of my toe. That took maybe about all of 5 minutes. Then I waited about maybe an additional 5 to 10 minutes for the x-ray to come back. 10 minutes passed. They come into the room and they said, okay, we did an x-ray of your foot and we looked at your toe. Your toe, luckily for you, is not cracked. It's not broken, which is a good thing. Well, actually, it was a little bit chipped. I put it like that. But it wasn't broken, which is a really good thing. So nothing surgical needed to be done. So he said that's a good thing. However, your toe is dislocated. Like, we looked at it. If you look right here, it's kind of chipped. So basically, the bone in the toe chipped a little bit away, which is why it looked the way that it did. And they said the only way we're going to fix this is we're going to have to pop your toe back into place. And he says we're going to do this one of two ways. One, we're going to either inject you with some Novocaine or like some local anesthesia so you don't feel it and we'll pop it, or we can just do it the regular way and just pop it and forget about the Novocaine, because the thing is, when it comes to the anesthesia and the Novocaine, it takes a little bit of time for it to activate. So he said, I'll let you have the decision. I said, whichever way is quicker. I just went with the latter. Now, for those of you, I have a slight high tolerance for pain. You're talking about a person who went through 2 feet surgeries in 1 year and then popped that bottle one time. And he's like, okay, fine. And the first thing that they had ended up doing, I believe, no, let me not get ahead of myself. So what they did was the doctor called in another person. So one person held the top of my foot, like the ankle, like the part right there where the leg connects to the foot. Like, let's just say that this is the foot, this is the leg. They had someone hold this part right here. And the other one, the doctor pull. He said, okay, we're going to count to 3 and I'm going to pull your toe up and I want you to try to hold your leg down. And I was like, okay. Mind you, while all of this is going on, my heart is literally beating so fast. I have beads of sweat coming down my face. I am shaking, like almost like my body's in shock when this is getting ready to happen. And they said 1, 2, 3, and on 3 he pulled it, and you can actually hear the toe kind of pull back into place because it sounds like a sound. And I was like, oh, okay, is it over? Is it over? Like, I'm literally saying, they said, we'll see. And the thing is, he says, do you feel anything right now? I said, not right now. And then a couple minutes, went past. He's like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do an x-ray and we're just going to see where it is. So we do another x-ray, same routine as it was before. 10 minutes later, they was like, okay, we did your x-ray. He says, we almost got it. It's not completely back into place, so we're going to have to do it again. I'm sitting here looking at this guy like, again? We got to do this again? It's like, okay, so they called the guy back in, did the same thing, and there's like, okay, when I heard that, I noticed that the pop sounded a little bit more louder this time than it did. So I was like, hopefully that's it. So we did a procedure with the x-ray again, came back, everything's popped back into place. So the hard part's over, and I actually felt a little bit better because now I don't feel the pain anymore. My toe isn't like folded up like a soda can or a pretzel anymore. It's now straight. So what they had to do was they ended up wrapping it. Like they made like a splint between my big toe, the one that had the issue, and the one that had, the one next to it, to make a splint. Then they put my foot in like a little boot, not a whole big long boot, but one of those small little boots, right? That is just conducive to the foot. And that was, pretty much it. They gave me some like pain medicine, but of course, like you said, I'm not a pill person. So I just healed on my own. And then the person who was with me, they ended up driving me back to the off-campus apartments that I was staying at. And what's so crazy is, and why I was upset about the whole situation more than the injury itself, is because that same day I was actually supposed to be taking pictures for a particular event for a fraternity. Like, I was actually supposed to be taking pictures that day for that event, because in case y'all don't know, on my campus I was known as cameraman, and the name pretty much speaks for itself. And I was going around taking different pictures for different events or anything like that. And I knew I was supposed to be doing it that day. And I was so excited for that moment to come. And then it's like that moment literally got taken away from me because of this one little incident right here. But it is what it is. I got taken back to the off camp, the apartment, and literally just rested for the rest of the day. Like, literally my day literally started at like 11 a.m., 12 noonish, somewhere around that time, just having fun, and ended at around 7 p.m. that evening of me being taken home from the emergency room. Like, that's literally how my day went that entire day. Like, I was like saying to myself, I was supposed to be back at school and everything like that. And people was asking me where I was at, because they know that I like to go to different events, and they knew that I wouldn't miss an opportunity to do something like that. So they was asking me where I was at. I said, I'm sorry, I can't, I couldn't come and do this for y'all, but I was in the emergency room for like the last 2.5 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. So it is what it is. And the thing is, this happened, like I said, like the week before we was getting ready to leave school. So I had to wear that boot on my foot, for the remainder of the school year, which was just a week. I mean, it is what it is. Classes were pretty much almost done anyway. It was just finals week. So I had to literally walk around with that boot on. And to try to keep a little bit of a balance with my foot, I had to wear a flip-flop, or a shower shoe with the other one, just so I wouldn't be walking around like I'm limping. Because if I had like a regular shoe on, or a sneaker or whatever, then I would have been looking like I'm limping, So in order to keep some kind of a balance when I was walking, I walked around with a flip-flop or a shower shoe on with the boot on the other foot to keep some kind of a balance. The pain, pretty much, subsided probably about a couple days later, but I stayed wearing the boot for maybe a good month, just to be sure. I probably could have came out of it sooner, But just to be sure, you don't want to just jump back and squeeze into a shoe, you know, because you don't want to risk any damage, because, you know, it's not like surgery was done. It was being used as a splint. So it basically had to heal naturally on its own. So just to be safe, that's what I did. And that's how I was for the remainder of the week that I was there on the campus. And I said, thankfully, this happened towards the end of the school year and not in the middle or the beginning, because who knows like how that could have been for me walking around, especially when there's a lot more people. But yeah, everything pretty much worked out fine for me now. Of course, that was back in 2010. We're talking about 12 years ago when that over 12 years ago when that happened. Of course, everything is way better now, but that was probably one of the most painful, excruciating moments of my life. Like I said, I would not wish that on anyone. It was scary at the same time, because it's like, oh my God, like I felt like I was by myself out there. So it is what it is, but it all worked itself out at the end. But this is going to conclude this particular story time. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments, and tell me any stories down in the comments, if like any type of stories you had, you can tell that dealt with you having to be in the emergency room. It doesn't even matter for what it is. You know, it could be as something like mine, or it can be something even more serious than mine. If you want to tell it, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. We sharing today. But that's going to conclude this. Y'all tell me what you think down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. Click the bell twice to be notified in case the notification bell does not work. I do upload my videos in a Premiere style format, which means that you can click the notification button in the thumbnail and the notification should come to you that way in case the bell does not work. The links will be down in the description. I will talk to you in the next one.